Good evening, everyone. Hope you guys welcome back. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to the Malaysian Architecture Education Online Series, proudly presented by MASA. This is the 26th online lecture entitled "Schools Out, What's Next" by Arkitek Tze Hui and David. So thank you again for joining us today. So for those who are new, MASA stands for Malaysia Architecture Student Alliance. It is a non-profit student community acting directly under PAM, also known as Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia. And it consists of student representatives from all architecture institutes in Malaysia. So during this time of MCO, MASA and PAM have decided to launch this online lecture series for students to be more productive and gain more insights. Architect Ardianta is the head of PAM education, and Dr. 𝐍𝐞𝐯 is the converter. There will be more series coming up after this, so do keep in touch with us on MASA's Instagram and Facebook. So my name is Guma Sylvester, MASA representative from UCSI, and I will be your MC for today. So Architect Tze Hui and David together, working with Architect Mike Boon, they are both they're directors of Arkitek JFN, an architecture firm based in Kuching. They both have interned and worked together over the many years under the mentorship of AR Mike Boon. Constantly re-evaluating their roles as architects, David employs his interests in cross-disciplinary technical and digital experimentative design, while his architect Tze Hui uses her excellent interpersonal skills to seek alternative approaches to engage in processes of making the environment a better place. So just sit back and relax. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the talk. But if you have any questions during the sharing, feel free to type them down in the chat box so we can attend to them at the end of the sharing. So without further delays, I would like to invite both the speakers on. How are you guys today?
Hi. So I'm David.
I'm Tze Hui.
I have long hair too, so we might both look like girls, but I'm a guy.
Okay, great. I'll pass it to you guys now.
All right, cool. So we both actually started out at JFN as interns. Me, I'm David. So I just said that. So Architect Mike Boon's my dad. So my boss is also my dad. And we are doing this in his house, which is also my house. So I've been interning at JFN since first year, I guess. So during summers. So that's been like 5 years. Then I've graduated in 2017 from the University of Tasmania. Then came back straight away, started working the week after I got back. And then we are now directors. So Tze Hui.
I am graduated from University of Sydney. So I started joining Arkitek JFN as an intern back in 2011. That's when I first met him, when he's still an high school student. so I did my interns during the master's time, and I got the offer from Mike Boon straight after graduate. So I'm very lucky I got a job straight after graduation. So that's how we all ended up in Arkitek JFN.
Are we gonna share with them the story of how we thought you were a guy but not? So
Sure.
a quick summary of the story is so Tze Hui, she's 𝐒𝐜𝐴 Hui, and we also know a person who is 𝐒𝐜𝐴 Hui but a man. So when she sent her resume in, we all thought it was a guy. So we thought she could just stay upstairs at the office. But when she came, she was not a guy. She was a girl. So we hosted her at our house. So she stayed with us. And then, yeah, so it was a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So moving on, a bit of background about our office. So see, in the center, that's Architect Mike Boon, which is our boss and my father. The person on the left is me, and Tze Hui is smiling very happily is on the right. Yeah, right. So our office is a bit different from most companies or offices, I guess, because we have a more relaxed environment. What you're seeing us wearing in the photo is actually our
Formal working wear.
working wear. Yes. So what we're wearing every day to work is just t-shirt, shorts, slippers. Unless we have a meeting, otherwise we almost never dress up. Because why is it? Because our office has no air conditioning. We only have stand fans and a ceiling fan that's almost going to fall off. It sounds like it's going to fall off. But our environment's quite nice because we have very largely landscaped garden. We have a fish pond, and we have a resident monitor lizard that lives somewhere in the pond. So as interns, when we were with JFN as interns, we worked on actual projects. So not employed as interns to pour coffee or photocopy things or just do the sort of admin work, but we actually did work. And the next slides, I'm going to show you a little bit about what our more recent interns experience with us. I think our interns all had quite a good time with us. Up in the top left corner, that's Jeremiah Con, a student intern from Utah. When he was with us, he was tasked to do the design of the landscaping of our garden. He did a really good job. So it was not as simple as just picking plants and planting them, but he had to do the research on what plants to put, how to maintain them, how to grow them, and how it would look. So he had to do a full design exercise. So that was quite intense. He did a really good job. So the background that you see in this photo is actually, apart from the bird's nest and the tree, it was all planted by him. So that was a good job. So with the other interns, we always train them to wash the pond because it's either them or us. Now that we have no interns at the moment, we are sharing a lot, so we're doing it. So with our internship, it's more hands-on. So we learn about things that not just about architecture. We teach and learn about how to maintain the pump. How does a pump system work? How does a pond work? How does a bead filter work? How do you wash it in certain ways and so on? So we try to teach in a more informal way than what you learn sort of textbook style, I guess. I think it's quite good because then it would let them use their brain and think, not just everything you have to tell them and they just follow step by step. So at JFN, we are actually more like a family. So we bring lunch, we eat together every day. Sometimes one person will bring rice, one person will bring chicken, somebody will bring salad, then we just eat together. And previously, we also had one of our interns, Fabian's, Abid. He brought us to his kampong to meet his grandpa and brought us to the local sort of waterfall area to have barbecue. So that was great. So for the first project that we want to share with everyone is the project that we started off both as interns, the project that we worked on. So this is a conservation project, a heritage conservation project of a historical shophouse in downtown Kuching. So when we were students as interns, like I suppose most of us, we knew nothing. We were fresh, like green as it comes. So it was, in a way, it was a big thing. So when we did this project, I actually started first because I was here first, I guess. I get tips on it. And then I started with the measured drawings to do the photography, to record before they started work. So I was doing the documentation work. So in a way, observation work. So when Tze Hui came in, she started with they were midway through the construction and conservation. So she had a lot of experience with asking questions. a big part of, I suppose, learning is to ask questions. If you don't know something, you should ask, because if you assume you know, and then you get asked on it and you give the wrong answer later, it's going to be bad. So we always try to ask first, even though it makes you feel, sometimes you feel like, oh, maybe this is a silly question, I shouldn't be asking it. But if you don't know, you should ask it. Yeah. So this is the shop house before and after. So yeah, it's the first photo was taken in 2012. When it finished, it was in when? 2015. It took about 3 years, I think. It was quite a lengthy process because there was quite a lot of things to it.
Yeah.
So this one was what I did. So with my very rudimentary first year hand sketching abilities, I did the measured drawing. Then I reconstructed the entire shop house in SketchUp. So with us in JFN, we use a lot of SketchUp because with SketchUp, you have to understand how to put the things together. Then you can draw it. Otherwise, you can't really. So I think it's good for sort of learning how things go together. Then this is the construction when it was on site. This is where mostly Tze Hui came in. And then this is the internal fit out. So the part of the internal fit out was actually done by our interns, Ryan Carey G and Gertrude Lee from Taylor's University. Then I think they've graduated now. So the client for this shop house was, he's an avid collector of antiques and sort of artworks. So he wanted to display his exhibits. He wanted to exhibit them in his shop house. So our interns then, they had to measure up every single piece of exhibition item and then photograph it and then model it in SketchUp and then do the design and propose it to the client. So it was very hands-on. They had to go to the site many times to see how the things fit into place and how it felt. And did I mention who the client was?
Not yet.
Okay. So the client, remember his name? His name is Dato' Wee Hong Sang. He's a key character, which will recur in our next other projects. So remember the name Dato' Wee Hong Sang. So moving on. So Dato' Wee Hong Sang, the owner of the shop house, or the client, now he's the mayor of our Kuching City South. So we sort of, I suppose we lucked out there. We struck up a good relationship with him, and now he's the mayor. So our next one comes into play. So this project is this year. It was installed just one day before MCO. So this one was it was a very short project, but it's a very interesting one. So what this project was about is, so our state government, they initiated a free school bus service for Kuching and sort of Padawan schools. So the route that the free school bus service was on did not have many or any existing bus stops. So we thought of what we could do was we proposed to do a modular bus stop prototype to the mayor, Dato' Wee, to do this as a CSR project, so a community social responsibility project. So volunteering our design. We worked with the council. So we worked with the council to do the landscaping. So the green roof part is done by the council. And then the painting of the mural inside was done by JCI Kuching. Paint sponsored by Nippon Paint. The main contractor was 𝐒𝐜𝐡, and the metal fabricator was Wan Li Wan. So what we did was we took I suppose you could say, a used shipping container, And then we designed it into a bus stop. A bus stop that's cost effective, that can be prefabricated off-site and then deployed rapidly and mobile. So in the case where maybe it's not used here anymore, it has to be moved somewhere, the truck can just pick it up, put it on the truck bed and just move it somewhere else. No big engineering work or roadblock will be caused. So we wanted to do a bus stop that was different from what a typical Kuching bus stop is. So if you look at the old bus shed, that's what a typical Kuching bus stop looks like. When it rains, you get wet. When it's hot, your legs will get black. It doesn't really actually provide that much shelter in a way. So what we did was we actually put the new bus stop side by side to the old one, and like a social experiment to see how people will respond to the new one. So this is the bit of the sort of process of the process of doing it. So the prefabrication was off-site in the factory. The mural design was actually entirely designed by our intern, Esther Wong. She's also from Taylor's University, so we've had a few Taylor's interns previously. And then JCI Kuching did the mural painting, so volunteers as well. The site installation took about 2-3 hours. It was raining and the day before MCO, so there wasn't much cars, so it's actually quite easy. And then the entire project, I suppose the entire project from design to installation, it only took us 2 weeks. So it was very fast. And then because of MCO, nothing could be done. It couldn't be launched. It couldn't be announced. It just sat there for quite a while until Kuching City Day, which is 1st of August. About 5 months later, the mayor, he brought our chief minister to visit it, and the chief minister was really pleased with it. So I suppose if he happy, we also happy lah. So carrying on, Tze Hui will take over this part.
I think COVID-19 is the most talked about things we had this year. So same as everyone else, we're all affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. So during the MCO period, we all have to stay at home. Everything was stopped. So works are not ongoing. So okay. So what we do is basically just everyone have to stay at home. So apart from sitting at home, we started to think as an architect, how we can contribute to the society in the manner that we can by raising awareness of the people and also paying tribute to the frontliners. So we have a lot of time to think, and during the Wesak Day, 7th of May, so we all sort of enlightened during that day, and we came up with an idea of having an art installation at a currently underutilized park, which has multiple functions, and it's also as a reminder of this event. So this project is called Along Together. It is a crowd-funded project to install a post-COVID-19 park installation, which is at the MBKS, our Kuching South Town Hall Park. So again, we pitched this idea to the mayor, and it was very well received. So our mayor is very supportive by inviting us to his Facebook Live, and we managed to share this idea with a lot of the public, and we also received a lot of support from them by because we wanted this project to be crowdfunded, because it was actually project for the people, by the people, and it has to be a lot of people to contribute to make this possible. And at the same time, we also received a lot of support from our industry partners like Transpens and 1-in-1, who contribute to the pen and also labor work in order to make this this project possible. So I will explain very briefly about our design concept. Firstly, as I mentioned before, the site is actually an existing park, which a lot of people, it was like sort of hide inside the park.
It's like a forgotten place.
Yeah.
It's very, very central. So it's actually next to the
Town
our
hall.
Kuching City South
Yeah.
City Hall.
Yeah.
But I, for one, did not even know where it is until I looked on Google Maps and said, oh, this is a nice place. How come I've never seen it? Actually, because the entrance to this sort of park area, it's very obscured. You have to go through the car park to find it.
Yeah.
And then it's behind a row of trees. So when you drive in, you can
Barely-
almost never see it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's quite sort of hidden, I guess. So it's tucked away. Yeah.
Yeah. So this part was it was called the Tai Chi Park. It is a round shaped plaza, an open plaza with concrete pavers on the floor. So we're thinking of how to use the existing site condition to incorporate in our design by using very simple and fast method to do this installation. So the first connotation is definitely related to the International Red Cross emblem, which is a red cross, which you can see on this picture. It is so we painted red color paint on the floor, and this also indicates the main circulation axis. And by following the same thinking, using the concrete paver as like dividing into grids, so we have divided into different squares of about 2 by 2 meter squares, which act as a reminder for everyone to keep social distancing. And on the floor, we have painted it into like light blue colors. I think everyone is very familiar with this color.
The color of the mask.
That we have to wear every day now. And on this square, we also use the reinforcement bar to set up like a cage like
Enclosure, I
yeah.
guess. I probably wouldn't call it a cage because it sounds quite restrictive, but we call it an enclosure, I guess.
Enclosure, okay. So the idea of the enclosure is actually to remind people how we have gone through the MCO period, that we all forced to stay at home. So it is sort of like a reminder to that. And in between this blue color squares, we have used oil drum. We cut it into half and we reuse it as a planting, like a planter box. So we have been, we work with the MBKS landscape department to do the planting. And this is as a way of relating us to the natural environment, and it's also remind us of how important it is to go back to the enjoy the outdoor and natural environments. And by using all these recycled materials or easily available materials, we are also
What?
okay, we are also working in line with Sarawak government's next 10 years
Sort of
the goals of
environmental sustainable
goals. So on the outer edge of the plaza, we have we call it a golden ring.
It actually looks kind of like a halo when you think of it.
Okay, so it was painted in golden or yellow color to bring the connotation of hope and positivity, and it is and we believe that by working together we can get through these hard times. So next slide. These are some of the process that we have gone through, like fabrication of the steel structures in the factory, and we also tested the the planting box. And while the steel structures were ongoing in the factory, there's another batch of workers doing the painting and planting on site. And next,
if you want scale, that's Tze Hui standing in the middle at the sort of top there. So yeah. It's actually quite sizable.
Yeah.
So this is the installation on site. So I took this photo. So when they started painting, and then when they started planting, and then when they started installing the metal structures. So At the bottom there's actually unfinished. It was actually when they put it on, and then some of the things they had to paint on site because when they transported it, it will get scratched.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, some of the things I have to paint on site. So it's not entirely prefabricated, I guess. So this is just some of the photos that we took when it's completed. It's completed now. And we have a blog. JFN has a blog where we've documented the entire process of this project on the blog. It's here if you want to screenshot or scan the QR code. Because there isn't enough searches, if you search in Google for Arkitek JFN Blogspot, you can't find it. So yeah, so this specific QR leads you to the documentation of the installation.
Yes.
Yeah. So moving on, this part of the talk is very much on what's very personal to us. So urban regeneration has always been on my our designs, when we work, we always think about the community and how we can respond and how we can contribute. So how can we as individuals contribute to make the difference? A lot of people say, one person make no difference. But if you think about it, if one person can get the ball rolling, the second person does it, and more and more people catch on, then there might be a difference. It might be small, it might be minuscule, but there is a difference because somebody has already decided to make the change. So with this, sorry, I got a bit stuck.
Well, we start to think about we need a site. As an architect, we need a place, a site. So we're starting to look at 𝐿𝐴𝐴 Park.
So 𝐿𝐴𝐴 Park is important to, I suppose it's important to me because I was born and raised there. Yeah. Well, my early childhood years were spent here. Then later on, it became important to Tze Hui for reasons that you will find out later on. So 𝐿𝐴𝐴 Park actually, it's quite an amazing place. It's one of the earlier low-cost housing estates in Sarawak, I think. And the design is really good. The planning is really good. It's been well established. The community is great. She knows because she lives there. And it has been quite nice, I guess. However, like every place, it has its issues. There's the main key issues with the current housing estate now is that, like everywhere else, uncontrolled extensions. Everybody's doing their own illegal extensions, like building maximum right to the boundary, and it's slowly killing off the sort of the atmosphere and the mood of the place. And also with the emergence of cubicle dwellers. So now a lot of the houses there, they modify the house, they split into many rooms, and then they rent it out to rural or foreign workers that work in the city. So the demographic of the entire housing estate has changed. It's changing. I suppose it's being diluted, I guess. Maybe it's urbanization and more modernization of sort of our cities. It's become more where people leave early in the morning and come back late. There's not much, I wouldn't say not much, but it's getting lesser. It's reducing the interaction between neighbors. So not just there. Here, living in my house now, I rarely even speak to my neighbors because we all have different times. Whereas in Tze Hui, with Tze Hui here, in 𝐿𝐴𝐴 Park right now, it's still there. So you still see your neighbors, you talk to them. Yeah. If your alarm rings, your neighbor will call you. If the van that sells vegetables drive by, they will ask you whether you want to buy or not. Yeah. So it's still quite nice. So with that said, we were thinking of how we can contribute to sort of, I wouldn't say combat, but I can't find a better word, I guess. So how do we respond to this sort of situation? So we started with housing renewal. So with housing renewal, our chance came when Tze Hui needed a permanent place to stay. she couldn't keep staying with us forever. So at some point we just kicked her out and it's like, you gotta find your own place to stay. So Tze Hui is not from Kuching, she's from Cebu, another city.
Not yet.
Okay, technically a
another
city,
town?
a town city in Sarawak.
Yeah.
So because she had a limited budget
And just graduated.
and just graduated, we still don't have much money, so we also low budget. So she had to find a place to stay. So she started looking on Muda to look for sort of houses, but because of her budget and having, preferably being close to the city or more central to where we work, it doesn't quite work because the cheaper houses are actually quite far away and there's always traffic jam and it's not nice, not conducive. So she was actually really lucky when we spotted an old dilapidated, so it's like quite an old rundown 2-story house in 𝐶𝐚𝐯 Park. So Tze Hui will talk to you about her first fully self-managed and design all the way to construction to now living in project. Okay.
So with my working experience that we talk about the conservation, I'm carefully thinking that this should be restored, used back to the original design. And just briefly about this house, it's a 2-story house with very small footprint. It's only about 760 square feet, which is, I think it's perfect for me because it has less area for me to do the cleaning for maintenance. And therefore, we're taking the approach of doing as little as possible to go back to the, by taking off the illegal extension and showcase the original design. So, and also definitely the cost is the biggest consideration. So a lot of things will just do at a very, very minimal, and it suits my lifestyle. And yes, so just a very quick conclusion. I
now everybody know how much her house costs.
I bought the house at about 250K. With the renovation, it adds up to about 310K. So with this price, and we do a search after we complete this project, it's a comparable price to a new house, which is really far away from the city, and you have to endure the traffic jam every day. And also with this budget, it's impossible for you to buy even a new apartment in the city center. So it gives us an idea that this is actually a viable alternative, especially to young professionals, young family who start out really small, and they only need, the space that we need is actually not that much. So, and it's a very central location. So this might be an opportunity, and hopefully maybe it might be a trend in the future.
I suppose maybe we're pushing for it. So because we sort of, based on Tze Hui's success, I suppose. In Chinese, we have a way of saying 𝐿品𝐿情 is good value. So we actually this year, the three of us, we 3 directors, we actually shared and bought another house in the same vicinity to renovate, to do something similar. So Tze Hui's house was a 2-story. So we wanted to this time showcase a single story type. So this is the house. It's not in the condition that is as bad as what Tze Hui's was in, but we also want to sort of, I suppose, revive it back to its former glory. But we are still in the midst of doing the design. So if you can see on the left here, this is the original design. It's a 3-bedroom house with it's single story, so 3-bedroom with 1 car. But a lot of people just sort of make it full carport, and then the extended maximum, so a bit all the way. So what we want to do was we want to show that it's possible to do renovations that is within the regulations, so it's not illegal, and then have a better or equivalent sort of quality of life and living spaces that can be achieved. So we were thinking of maybe doing a contemporary family house. Then when we did that, we thought about it. So who's going to live there? We all have sort of houses now. We have a place to stay. So who's going to live there? So maybe not that. No. So maybe if we want to rent it out, we don't want to do cubicle dwelling. We want to, if we want to rent it out, we want to rent it to people and let them still have quality of life.
Yes.
So we work towards having an internal courtyard in the backyard at the back, garden at the back, I guess. So then from that, we then thought about if we wanted to rent it to families, not single people, what could we do? So we thought about, what about we split the house in half? So in a way, it's one house that can be split into two houses. So imagine you are living with your share house and then you argue and then it's not going to work. So if you split into two houses, technically everybody gets their own spaces.
And you still live in
and still live in the still sort of same one unit, I guess. Then we thought about, what about a flexible plan for Soho? So if maybe we wanted to move our office there, what could we do? We wanted to think through all of these possibilities before actually sort of settling and deciding, because I suppose it's very dear to us and we wanted to be open to the opportunities that the future opportunities that we may have. So this one's still a work in progress. We will update it on our blog when we have the time. Time seems to be a running out sort of commodity for architects, I guess. We're always busy with something. So now Tze Hui is going to take you guys through the last
chunk of
last part of this presentation. So this project is actually ongoing now. She's the resident architect, so she's on site every day looking at it. So Tze Hui.
Okay. So after buying two houses, we know that we cannot continue to buy houses.
Yeah, I mean, now we have like two houses. I don't think we can afford to buy a third one or fourth one. So we had to do something else. I mean, we had to bring it further. So bring it on a higher platform. So urban regeneration is not just about individuals, it's about the community. So
so we started to look at a bigger area, which is the open spaces at this 𝐾𝐽 Park housing. So this site is actually planned to have a big green space at the center, if you can see in the slide, which is also the valley of the hall site. So this is where all the drains and waters actually flow to. So with this, we started to look at the sites and we wanted to push this idea and seek support from the public and authorities, which looking at how to regenerate the existing housing asset through different methods. So just some quick go through of the existing park facilities. So at this 𝐾𝐽 Park, there is central to this housing asset, there is a park called Traffic Garden. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Traffic Garden, but it's basically in Sarawak, most of the school children has gone through this period where there is they have traffic games every year.
Yeah, traffic games. So it's like
educational.
It's an educational sort of
role playing games.
Where children sort of learn about traffic rules and they have like those little cars where you pedal, and then there's people being pedestrians, and then they have real policemen to give you saman if you break the law.
So that's our childhood memory. So it's still a part. The traffic game was stopped I think a few years back, but this part is still well used by the community. And across the drain from the traffic garden, the parks and open spaces are quite
disjointed. It's like disconnected. They put up a fence, so I don't see the point of the fence because there's so many holes that there's jalan tikus that people can just sort of go through. So
yeah. So walking further down the open spaces fronting the housings area, so we actually are very encouraging to see the residents are taking the initiative to use as like sort of left out space.
So they take the initiative to
Yeah.
make their own kebun. They
Yeah.
plant their fruit trees, their garden vegetables, their herbs.
Mhm.
They plant there, and then there's this really big mango tree up down there.
Mhm.
That a lot of times the mango drop, and then the joggers run past and just pick up. So it's like a
Yeah.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. And some residents also took it to another level by creating an outdoor living room in the open space. So it is good to see that people are using the spaces, but at the same time, we think that it's necessary to administer the place properly before it gets a bit out of control. So this again give us an opportunity to propose another project, which is the Urban Park Regeneration Program in this site to MBKS.
Which is still our current mayor, Dato' Wee Hong Seng.
So we get a lot of support from our mayor, and yes, so this is our actual sort of like the actual project, all the big ideas, and it comes down to these actual projects.
So you can see that on the page. I'm not sure
Let
if
me
you can see. Can you see the mouse?
I think
Yes, yeah.
oh, okay.
All right. So you can see that all the spaces are all fragmented into sort of separate
Different
parts.
patches.
So our idea, our concept is to integrate the spaces.
Mhm.
So if you see the big long blue strip in the middle, that's actually the drain. It's a main drain. It's a really big, quite big drain
Yeah.
that channels all the water sort of down and then to the sort of collection point on the other side of the road. So we wanted to integrate the spaces by first removing all the fencing, and then we'll start to improve the pedestrian network. So a lot of uncle and aunties, every morning, they'll come down to the park to do the exercise.
Mhm.
The ones living around here. And also because it's not shown on the plan, but further up, there's a sort of like a 𝐿𝐸 Park commercial center. So it's like there's a market, there's shops, there's cafes, coffee shops. A lot of people actually walk through the park just to get there because it's a shortcut. You don't have to walk all the way to the main road and then come back in again. So opening up the access is a really big key strategy. So we also wanted to do an entrance statement so people would know there's a starting and ending, because currently it's very informal, it's very loose. So we enhanced the space usage pattern, because originally this part here, if you look at the mouse, this part here is actually just a big open space that's it's just underused. It's just grass, and the grass is so tall that when you step, there's so many holes, you just fall in. So we wanted to reactivate it and then use this as the first. This is the first phase. So the first phase would be to sort of open this up, and then the consecutive phases would probably be to reconnect all the green spaces in this 𝐿𝐸 Park and then link them all together, so it's just one big park. So with this phase one, when we combine them all together, it actually totals up to about 10 acres. It's really, really big. So great for exercise. Yes. So now we will just show a bit of the renders of the site, because the current site is construction's ongoing and it's not pretty. So we just look at renders. So one of the key features is a big open space, so like a padang, so people can come and use the space. Then we wanted to extend the footpath system so people can do the jogging, but not only that, we also wanted to make it disabled friendly. So hopefully it'll be the first major park in Kuching that is disabled friendly. Then we will do connecting bridges and crossovers to connect both sides to cross through the drains, cross past the drains. Otherwise, now it's very kasian. They have to put the board, small board, and then you see the auntie all have to walk over the drain. Look very dangerous. And then this is a render of the entrance statement. So we want to do an entrance statement on the other end, so people driving past, they will know that here's an entrance, there's another entrance on the other side. So it sort of creates a connectivity. And then we, as you can see from our office, we actually have great love for
Plants.
planting. We like landscaping, we like large planting. So we thought about, because the existing residents, they already have their orchard, they already have their plants there. So instead of removing all their things and then replanting something else, ornamental, we thought it would be good to expand and incorporate the existing orchard. So we are doing a fruit orchard specifically in this park here, in certain areas, and then we're also giving them planter beds for all the houses that are facing the park to plant vegetables, herbs, that kind of thing. So we wanted to also bring forward the idea of urban farming to the people, because food security is the next
It's a
big
big
issue now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Then the last slide here, this is our plan for the next phase of phase 2. We want to introduce an urban farming center right in this park also, to support the community, and also probably be the first urban farming center in Kuching, maybe, to become an educational hub where it can be a hands-on learning area. And then because there's a lot of old people, older generation living in 𝐒𝐜𝐴 Park, most of the time in the day, they just sit around the park, they have nothing to do. So maybe if we have an urban farming center here, we can give them a bit of pastime, so they can spend their time to contribute back to the community, maybe, to sort of do farming, because a lot of them actually like the farming anyway. So yeah, so that is our presentation for today. This one is another shameless plug from us. This is the QR code for our blog. We promise to update it progressively. But most likely I'll probably write like 10 posts and post it a month. It's more productive that way. Anyway, so yes, any questions you can ask Tze Hui.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Architect Tze Hui and David, for the very interesting talk. So we'll go into a Q&A session now. So if you guys have any questions, you can type it in the chat section, and I will bring it up to the speakers. So we'll give them a bit of time to.
How do we open the chat?
Yeah, it's at the right side. Can you see it? Are you in full screen now, or?
I don't think so. Oh,
are you able to see the chat?
let me see.
It's okay, take it.
I don't know how to use it. Because we're sharing the screen, I don't think we can see the
I don't know.
question. Is there
okay. That's probably okay.
Is there any
No, I'll just read the questions up to you guys.
Okay.
Okay, there's one question from Han. So who's responsible to finance the urban park project?
Sorry?
Who is responsible to finance the urban park project?
The urban park, I suppose you mean the 𝐒𝐜𝐴
The 𝐒𝐜𝐴 Park, yes.
yeah, it was
It's funded by the
MBKS.
council, yes.
By the council.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they fully paid for the construction.
Yeah.
Yes. We are appointed. We are appointed as the architects for the project. So yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
We can't see it now.
Oh, we can see the
I thought you can
question.
just
maybe if you.
Sorry. I'll just put it on here.
Okay.
there's another.
If you don't mind, can you just read out questions if there is?
Yeah, there's another question from Fabian. How do you prevent?
Fabian, how do you prevent the community park from being vandalized? I think vandalism itself, well, put it this way, we cannot stop vandalism, but vandalism is a mindset thing.
Yeah.
I think if somebody really wants to vandalize, they will still vandalize. We cannot stop that, because I think we try to design to see the best in everyone. So everybody would try their best to play their role in keeping it nice, because if nobody takes care of it, then we can't have anything.
Yeah, and also in this project, one of the key thing that we're instilling is creating a community, the sense of community. So when the people actually involved in this project, they have a sense of belonging and sense of ownership. So they will start to take care of the place instead of like, I give you something, like they don't have any attachment to it. So probably the vandalism will start to have the problem. So by involving the people, it is very important, the community. Yes.
To answer Olivia's question about the drain odor from the urban park, actually, there's no drain odor at all. The park, the drain, the water is actually very clean because
it's flowing all the time.
Flowing all the time. There's always water,
Yeah.
and then the water is quite fast, so we don't have a problem with that. Next question by Fabians again.
What's your opinion, especially to Part 1 graduates? Should we directly continue with Part 2 or work in a firm for working experience?
Okay, this one is...
I think it's a very personal question.
It's a very subjective question.
Yeah, but I do have experience of different friends who stopped when they finish a Part 1, they start to work and they never go back to study. That is one of the example. And for us, both of us, we continue our Part 2 straight away after we finish our undergrads. So I guess it's up to what are you looking for, I think. If you are after you finish your Part 1, you are very sure that you want to gain working experience, then you may try. What's your opinion? Personally, I wouldn't encourage.
I think it's like this. I think I want to clarify this. Working experience or internship is a different thing.
Yes.
Working experience means you take a break, you work for maybe 2-3 years, then you continue. Internship is maybe you take like 3 months, half a year. It's a very different thing, because personally, I find it, if you stop, it's very difficult to pick back up again, because working and studying is very different. Once you come out and work, you find it very difficult to go back to student life, or vice versa, I guess. Student life is best.
Yes.
Be student, good.
Or you are very clear about the timeline. You know that you give yourself a gap year to work. Then when that year finished, then you decided, and then you go back to study. So if you start off working without a schedule, like a plan, you will probably continue doing the same things every day.
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
The next question is, how do you get your salary based on the project?
Okay.
Okay.
Do we clarify that the 4 projects that we do, actually the first one is internship, so it's different. The 2 other projects is basically like volunteer work.
Our interns get paid, okay? Our interns get paid. We pay for our interns, not free labor. I suppose as directors, well, yes, we still get salary, and then we split the profit. And we split when we have profits.
And we have to split the expenses as well.
Yeah, so
if the expenses is more than what our income is, so
then
we have to bear the loss.
Yeah, so you have no profit. Yes, Tze Hui.
Yeah. Is that, are you guys done?
I need to open full screen, it's very small, can't see.
Okay. So the next question is for Arkitek Tze Hui. Briefly explain the reason for her room placement in the house if she doesn't want to. Oh, okay.
Never mind, we will answer every question that you
It's okay, yeah.
For the reason her room placement in the house.
We just go back to the slide.
Yeah, sure.
Where is it?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yep.
No, that's not her house. This is her house.
This.
Plan.
Yes.
Okay, here.
Oh, okay. Actually, the room placement is the original room placement. So I did not change the function or the rooms of the original house because it's sufficient for me, a lot more than sufficient. So so actually, if you look in this plan, there is 3 bedrooms. I can pick to stay in whichever bedroom if I like. So yeah, if that answer your questions.
What? Sorry.
No.
I think okay.
By the way, Tze Hui deleted the slide because she felt like maybe she doesn't want to show it, but actually,
we can see it from the plan.
can we see it?
Yeah, yeah.
She
Oh,
in
I
her
think-
upstairs bedroom, she has an open plan toilet. So her toilet, basically, if you lie on the bed, you can see somebody sitting on the WC.
Wow.
It's
Interesting.
it's a personal choice, and it's also a conscious choice because I don't want to spend too much money on doing the renovation yet.
How much it costs for the interior fit out works to the shop house. It is necessary to have other consultant like QS to involve in small sales project. And the architect is fully responsible to keep the cost within the client's budget instead of the QS. This one is kind of a long question, but I'll try to answer in parts, okay?
Cost for the interior fit out.
First question about the cost of the interior fit out. I can't tell you because I don't.
Interior fit out, I think it depends on which item you include. If it's because the fit out is mainly in this case it's mainly the exhibitions, like putting things from the owner who already own it. Is just putting the things like where do you want to put your, for example, where do you want to put your chair, your tables. So for labor work and the designing work are all done by our interns.
I suppose.
So yes. So next.
The other one was
To
about
have consultants like
QS.
QS to involve in this small scale project.
I think for the shop house, it's a bit of a special case because it's a conservation project. It's a bit more complicated. It's a bit different from what a typical sort of house design or a shop house design. So it depends. If it's a small scale project, okay, think of it this way. You're an architect. You can do the QS's job if you are capable of doing it, but if the client wants to have a QS, or if you want to sort of split the load, then you get a QS, I guess. And then to keep within the cost, yes, it's a big deal. You should not exceed the budget. Yes.
Okay. Next question.
Next is
what if you found that the word
on the team?
In a team is difficult? Is that means you hardly work as an architect?
could you perhaps clarify your question, Mavis? I'm not quite sure what the question is. Are you asking whether
Is that you hardly work
working as a team during?
I think probably she means working with a team of different consultants like CNS engineers, M&E engineers, and QS. I guess it looks like.
I'm not sure. We'll get back to you, Mavis. If you could clarify, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go on to Chris.
Yep. He was hoping to know more on the urban orchard park. How was the response from the residents, Italy, on the project itself? Do you collect surveys responses from them? And were they highly supportive?
Tze Hui can answer this. It's her neighbors.
Okay. Actually, we have been going down to the site and talk to the people quite a lot of times when we are doing the design and even before the implementation of the projects. So generally, the response are quite good, I think.
Yeah,
they're very
quite positive because there hasn't really been much done to the current site for the past 50 years. So I suppose any new thing is a welcome addition, I guess.
Yes.
Plus, a lot of them are already doing their planting. It's their pastime. So
it's not
like
something new that they haven't done it before.
So they were all quite receptive of it. So it's actually quite good. So we spend, well, because we also go for walks there, and then sometimes we meet people and then we just strike out conversations and just ask. So it's just test water.
Yeah, and also we are going to roll out with MBKS, with the council, a community engagement project to involve and to tell more about this idea, to pitch this idea to the community. So we will have more input, I guess, and supports from the local.
Okay, I like this question. Camillea's question: how do you find the project? Do you just find anywhere to renovate, or do you have to find people? Okay, this is a really good question. So I suppose this is one of the key points that is quite subtle in this presentation, I guess. What we're trying to bring forward is that the projects don't just fall from the sky. Nobody's just gonna one day hand you a project, say like, here's this amount of money, I want you to do this. It almost never happens unless you're like Zaha Hadid or Frank Gehry, or like some big architect. So most of the time, we create our own projects. So look at like the bus stop and the sort of the New Norms Park. We created that project based on our to adapt to our situation, I guess. Because how do I phrase this? In Chinese, there's also a saying, 天下没有白吃午餐. So in this world, there is no free meal. You have everything you want, you have to work for it. So yes, you have to find it. Yes.
Find it anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
So next question. How much money does architect make?
Sorry if this question is really cash is motivational for me. What kind of architect do you want to be?
Yes. What kind of architect do you want to be?
So that's the first question you have to ask yourself.
Of course, money is important because, I mean, we all have to survive somehow. But then, is money the only thing that drives you and keeps you going, or is there more? So you have to ask yourself that. We can't answer that question. We can't answer that question for you.
When you probably want to think about what is. I think I assuming you're a student, so I would say just thinking about earning money to be as the only motivational thing to keep you continue studying or practicing as architect, I do not think it is very sustainable, viable. You probably have to think of
like
what
inner
is your
drive.
priority. Yeah.
Do you do real estate, or can architects do real estate? Do you mean like selling houses? Anybody can sell house.
Property, brother.
Property. I think she mean property broker. Is it maybe?
Like a real estate agent, I think.
Yeah. Anybody can sell houses as long as you can sell.
No, we don't do.
So far lah. Maybe one day lah. As you have mentioned in the presentation, you mostly use SketchUp for projects. Are there any plans to implement more BIM methods such as Revit that might benefit the work from home working style? Okay, this one is, I suppose this is my expertise, my area, I guess. You see, you have to understand, BIM is not the software. Revit is not, I mean, Revit is a BIM software, but BIM is not the software. BIM is the system of building information. So SketchUp, is SketchUp BIM? Yes, SketchUp can be BIM. It depends how you use it. For example, for us, when we do our SketchUp models, we do everything in SketchUp. Now even the CAD plans, everything we cut from SketchUp. So if you want tutorial, tuition, you can find me lah. So with SketchUp, we do is with our projects, we usually work with our M&E and CNS, so our mechanical and electrical engineers and our civil structural engineers. We always either we teach them how to use SketchUp and get them to draw in their basic, their things, their work or their structures into the SketchUp model. And then we have one master SketchUp model with all the services inside. So I'll show you an example. I got it. So if we go back to the top with the shop house, okay, in a way, this is actually a BIM model. So if you see the orange lines and the yellow lines, these are actually electrical conduits. So how the electrical wiring will run, I have also modeled it in. So it's not shown, but it's actually underground, water piping, everything is drawn in. So in a way, yes, this can be used, SketchUp can be used as BIM. It's just whether you understand how the BIM system works. So I suppose you can argue that Revit or Arkitek, it's more convenient, yes, because everything is on the same platform. But the thing is, the cost is quite high. You see,
in Sarawak, we do not have a lot of consultants using.
Yeah. So if we are using Revit and Arkitek and everybody else is just still drawing with AutoCAD, then there's kind of no point.
It won't be like matching, right?
Yeah. So yeah, unless the government actually sort of implements or sort of like mandatory to force it, then probably we have no choice. But for the time being, we're still using SketchUp. I think SketchUp is really good. Yes, which is the next question?
Next question is back to the interior fitting works out to the shop house project. Will there be many variation works during the construction works regarding to such building conservation project, like the shop house project? Does PAM form the contract still being used or bespoke contract is used? I suppose relating to the shop house project.
Well, that would be very variation works.
We all are.
Yeah, I did not really fully involved in the full process, I think.
Okay, to sort of clarify, I guess, with this shop house project, because when we first did this, we were both interns. So like you, I don't know. Sorry, I can't answer that question, because I don't know.
But I can answer the second part. The PAM form of contract still be in use for a conservation project. We did other than this shop house, our firms actually did quite a few conservation projects before, but mostly with government agencies, which is JKR. So in that case, we're using the JKR form of contract. So it's a similar concept with PAM contracts, but it's a different form of contract. Yeah.
Okay. If you guys have any more questions, this will be the last call.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, like the sort of like the urban proposal, the last one. Is there, because you mentioned you studied in Australia, right? So I have some like friends in Australia who studied like permaculture. Do you incorporate permaculture? Do you guys know what's permaculture?
Do you know about it?
Yes. So with the part of the just let me scroll right through. It's the last slide. Here we go.
The last.
With the urban farming center, we're trying to incorporate that as well. So we're actually looking at doing not aquaculture. What's it called? I can't remember. But we were actually looking at doing animal husbandry as well. So with sort of have probably rabbits and goats, that kind of thing. So it's quite interesting, but we are trying with plants first to see the reception.
Yeah, and
then we'll the regulations, because when you involve animals, it gets more tricky. Yeah.
Like, because I did a bit of like I did work in eco farm before, so I think implementing like goats, you need a way to sort of restrict, not sort of like a cage, but more to restrict their movement because they can do a bit of damage.
Yeah. Imagine the god got loose and then just ate
Yeah.
everybody's plants.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. Like you'll be incorporating like quotes into
It
this.
will be interesting. I think so. To look
Can't wait
into.
to see it.
Yeah.
So next question we have,
How will the pandemic affect our homes?
whose home? Your home or my home?
Our future homes.
I think the pandemic's here to stay. Even with a vaccination, I don't think it's going to go away because I suppose this is just the first
Wave.
wave, I guess.
Of
COVID
all
is
the
maybe just the first one. Maybe the next one is I don't know, Mavid or Dovid or Bovid. There's going to be more. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more coming out.
Mhm.
So I would think that this is maybe like a new era or new sort of new wave of
We're
sort of
living in a
how
new
we would
time.
live, I guess.
Yeah, but actually, I would like to show this plan. I would like to refer it back to how this house was designed like 50 years ago. The plan is still very relevant to the current situation, even during the pandemic, because as you can see, it's especially the living rooms and the bedrooms that are cross ventilated. I think ventilation in the house is very important, the natural ventilation, cross ventilations. And if you look at the ground floor, from the car porch, what you entering is actually a bathroom. So
Yeah.
it actually quite suits our requirement nowadays. When you come back from from the public space, you
have to wash up first
before
you
you
go into your
go
private
into
spaces.
so and it has a lawn garden in the front and the back, which when I think talking about pandemic, a lot of people are saying so much more time at home when they normally do. These are all the small details, very basic details that which actually can relate to our response to the pandemic.
Yeah, especially if you're working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being stuck at home and your home is 4 walls, maybe one small window.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 months, it's like jail.
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Do you have more questions?
There's more.
How did you gauge your professional fee? Is it feasible to follow land scale fee when you propose your professional fee to your client, especially when the project is a small scale project? I will explain this. Talking about the feasibility and the land scale, if you are a practicing architects, according to the ads, you have to charge according to the land scale fee. So
You must.
You can charge. It's not so you can charge based on the land scale fee, which is the minimum.
You can charge more but not less.
Yes. So if you think with a certain kind of project, you are doing actually more work, then if your client is willing, you can charge more from the scale fee. Yeah.
Sorry, we're all squinting because it's like very
It's okay,
small.
I can read for you guys actually.
Which one we have?
How do you find companies, right?
How do we find companies that hire architects? Also, how is architect life? Do you get sleep or do you travel or go sightseeing a lot? Okay, I like this question
I like
also.
This question I like.
So first, I will answer.
How do you find companies that hire architects?
I will answer this from a student's perspective. Okay. First is, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this, but 90% of the resumes that we receive, everybody uses the same exact template. Don't use the same exact template. Because if I see the last resume use this template, the next one use this, and the next 10 use the same ones, I'm not going to look at it. So first thing is, don't just copy paste and use the same template, because it's actually not doing you an advantage.
Yeah.
Secondly, how is an architect life? Okay, first I want to say student life. I want to ask all the students here, when you are a student, architecture student, how many of you have never spent overnight to do your project? Apart from me.
Not me.
It's all about time management. So how an architect's life and how a student are actually the same thing, because it's all about how you manage your time. Because for me, when I was studying, I think a lot of people envied me because I would
You do all sorts
I would
of
do
things.
all my work in the beginning of the semester. So when everybody's still lenggang, and then I just work. And then towards the closer to submission, every day I just play game. Watch movie, play game, and then people's like rushing, and people like, you don't need, finish already. Yeah, finish already. Yeah. So it's all about time management, how you balance it out. So that's that. And then the last one is, do you travel or do you go sightseeing a lot? It depends. This one is okay, if you're an intern, I suppose intern with us, we always take the interns with us to site, because site is where you will learn the most. Because everything you see in a textbook, right, and then you go to site, right, and then you see like, how come they do this like this? How come they do that like that? Because on site, right, I mean, in the textbook is the theory, but practically, right, people always try to do things the smarter way lah. I'm not saying theory is not smart lah, but sometimes the theory is quite tedious, and anyway. So practical experience is a big part of being an architect. You need to know how people do on site. Then you have to design to suit accordingly, because it doesn't matter how detailed you draw your something. If the contractor on site is just going to do it like that, then so it's important to go on site and see how people do things, so you don't set sort of unreasonable, I wouldn't say unreasonable, but there's a certain skill level to do certain things. So yes, so there's that.
I'll just add on the architect's life of a practicing architects.
Practicing architect.
Yeah. For students, we actually spend most of our semester doing design. So in practice, the time we spend on design is actually quite minimal compared to other.
I wouldn't say minimal, but
it's
a bit like front loading.
Yeah.
So if you look at the scale of minimum fees, there's different stages. So when we are at the stage of doing design, then we do design lah. Then when we pass the design stage, then we do implement. So there's a lot of multitasking. Like for Tze Hui, she handles like 4 or 5 projects. Then she has to do different things at different times in one day. So when we think about when we want to do the blog, right, do we put it during work hours? If we don't put during work hours, is it considered overtime, or is it like a hobby? It gets a bit tedious. But I will get to it.
Next question.
The next question is regarding on the bus stop projects. How long does the social experimentation last? And will the old style bus stop, will it be removed and replaced by the new ones with the latest style? I suppose that the style that you guys propose.
Okay, with the bus stop, I would suppose we'll put it there indefinitely, I guess, because the current bus stop is permanent. If you want to remove it, you have to demolish it, and it's a bit of work. It's quite a lot of work. Then it gets a bit complicated. So if it's still good, we just leave it. We don't have to demolish it.
Yeah, it depends on the client department.
Yeah, it depends on the bus route. So for ours is we wanted to not do something that cannot be moved. So the intention was something that could be portable. So in the case that maybe the bus route change in, I don't know, 2 years time, they can just pick this up, move it to the other place, put it down, done. You don't have to demolish, or you don't have to do more tedious sort of site work, and it's fast. So you can it's the same day. It's like a 1-day delivery thing. You can just go pick it up and put it over there, done. Then you have bus stop there. So yeah. What is your advice to new architect students like us to keep passion in this course? This is the thing about burning out. It's quite a big thing. A lot of my friends actually a lot of us actually have been through that part. I sort of have, but instead of me losing interest, I just got distracted by other things. So with burning out, I think you have to pace yourself. You have to again, it's a work-life balance thing. You have to have a balance. You can't just say, I mean, I live and breathe and sleep and dream architecture 24/7. It doesn't work that way. I mean, if you can, good for you. I cannot. I would go insane maybe.
but but I think passion is something that if you have the passion in something, you probably won't run out of. You still keep doing that because you love doing that, and you don't think that it is
Not a chore.
yeah. Yes.
But
And
maybe if you feel that you're sort of burning out, maybe you can try to use a different perspective to look at it. Then maybe you sort of find a new way to find a new way of looking at something. It becomes something new.
yeah, or talk to people. Find surrounding by people with the same passion as you. Very important.
Yep.
It keeps you going.
Next question: what are the requirements for intern?
Intern at JFN, I can wash fish pond. This is a very good offer.
It's a very good offer.
We will consider that.
Yeah. So with the fish pond, actually, that was quite interesting. Previously we had like a small mishap, I guess. Because there were certain parts of the fish pond that you have to pay attention to. If you lose one very small piece, like an O-ring, a seal, then all the water will run out from the pond.
So it happened to us.
It happened to us once. So yeah,
Luckily, the fish still can
have 1 foot of water left.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in a resume? Okay. I suppose I have to answer this because I checked the resume.
you start it first.
Okay, I think the resume is. I would probably give some tips on doing a resume, but I wouldn't tell you specifically what I'm looking for, because if I tell you specifically, then everybody will send me the same thing again. So I think with the resume, first thing, key point. I don't need to know how expert you are with Microsoft Office or PowerPoint or Photoshop, or I think the program skills is not that big of a deal. I mean, if you just briefly mention that you know SketchUp, I mean, you are fluent with it. I mean, like not like I think that's enough. I don't think you need to put a chart like 1 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 proficiency with Microsoft Office. I mean, okay, sure. Then, because if you put that in, you waste one big part of your page where you can describe something else.
And we do have high expectation on that.
Yeah. So if you come and you say you are 5 out of 5 with SketchUp, then the first day you come in, I'm going to test you. And if you fail, I'm going to fire you. So first thing is being in your resume, be honest. Don't make yourself sound too great, because we take it very seriously. If you say you can do this, I want to make sure that you can do it, because honesty is a big part with us. If you cannot be honest with us, we have to be honest with each other. If you're not honest, then there's no trust. If there's no trust, we can't work together. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I suppose this is a bit more subjective, but if you write in your resume saying that you want to work with us because it will be a good platform for you to find future job, you are automatically disqualified. Because imagine you are me. Sir, I want to come and work with you because I want to borrow your company name to make my name better, to be a stepping stone to find better job. How would you feel? So yeah, there's that. And then
I think we should just give out the last tips.
yeah. So one more tip. One more tip is it'll be good to put a picture of what you actually look like, not like the photo that you put like 10 years ago. Looks so nice, and then when you come, it's like, or also put photo so I know you're male or female.
Yeah.
because Chinese name very ambiguous one. Okay, so
I think that's enough.
I think
for
that's
tips.
enough for that. So can you describe a situation where you have made design trade-off decisions? I wouldn't call it a trade-off, but there are certain compromises that sometimes you have to make to fit either the budget or certain requirements. So, yes, of course, there are situations like that. But then if you turn it around and you don't look at it as a trade-off, you see this restriction as an opportunity for you to create something else. I suppose that's what design is. Because if you have an open brief with no restrictions, I have no idea how you can design, because what are you basing your design on? So I suppose the restrictions are there in a way that it gives some structure to what you can design. So
Like a creative constraint.
how do you handle the stress? Is there so much work to get done? Yeah.
How do you handle the stress?
Well, okay, different people do it differently. I will go first. The way I handle my stress is I work Monday to Friday. So I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier in our presentation, our work hours are somewhat a bit more fluid. So we don't stick to the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 kind of thing. We are more like, you have a task, you finish your task, you can leave. But we can never get it done now, so we always stay. So I usually get to work at, I don't know, 9:30, so I skip the jam. Then I stay till about 7:30-ish, so I skip the jam, so no peak hour. And then Tze Hui, sometimes she comes earlier, so maybe it depends. Because for Tze Hui to come down, it's opposite direction of traffic, so it doesn't really matter. But for me, it's, same direction. Then we have our admin executive. She comes early. She comes in at like 7:38. Then she leaves at maybe earlier. So it all fits to everybody's sort of lifestyle and their role and responsibilities. As long as you get your thing done, you're fine. Yeah. About the stress. Yes, the stress. The stress is paramount. With the stress, for me, Saturday is my gaming day, so I spend the whole day gaming. How do you handle your stress? Tze Hui has no stress one. Every day happy.
Stress. I think, I don't know. I don't think stress is something that inhibits you. It actually pushes you forward. If you look at it a different way, if you don't have stress, you don't have targets. Like, you're just doing the same things every day without any targets and looking at the future. So if you have stress, I'm not sure how to answer. So
Tze Hui and stress, you just laugh.
yeah, maybe you have stress, you just laugh, or you eat more. I think exercise is good. Exercise is indirectly helping you to de-stress, because it keeps your mind away from thinking the same thing. So it gives you a fresher mind when you comes back to look at the same situation again.
Yeah. So Arkitek Mike, so my dad, he has to hit his 10,000 steps every day. So every day at about, I don't know, 6 o'clock, he goes for walks. So every day he walks 5 kilometers ish, I guess. So he's actually fitter than me, even though I look more fit. What's next? Okay. In regards to green design, considering that many areas may be affected by sustainable design, how will you determine which option to pursue? Not least, if sustainable design technologies are implemented, do upfront costs exist may affect the construction budget costs?
I think the sustainable design that he's talking about is environmental sustainability. Because sustainable, there's a few, basically the sustainable design, there's 3 major aspects to it. environmental, social, and what's the last thing? I can't remember. Oh, economical. Yeah. So I think we'll answer based on the environmental sustainability. How will you determine which option to pursue? I think options.
I suppose
It's not like you only can choose A, you can't choose B. I think as an architect, you have to think of A, B, C, D, and
E, F,
E.
G until Z, and then you have to sort of mix them all together and then pick out the best and come up with one.
Composition.
Yeah. So it's not just I don't think it's just one answer. So it's
If sustainable design technologies are implemented, do upfront costs exist that affect the construction budget?
Okay.
Technologies.
Where are we? Oh, sorry. I think the design part, when we look at this, you have to look at it sort of together but separated. So the design is when you have the concept of how you want, how you want it to be, the overall picture. And then the technology will come later on to fit into the parts of the design that you want. So the technologies sort of complement to help you achieve what you want to sort of, get to. Okay, next one. The only thing I like about being in this industry is the designing process. Not much about the technical part, plumbing, M&E drawings, blah, blah, blah. I used to have an internship with an architecture firm, and one of the internship coordinators said that being a real estate developer suits me more. Do you need a lot of cash to get started as a real estate developer? Isn't every architect's dream to be the developer? I think this one goes back to the previous question earlier about the money being the driving factor thing. It really depends what kind of architect do you want to be. Do you want to be, I don't know, this is very subjective, so you really have to sort of know what you want. Developer, if you want to be developer, I suppose you need a lot of money, right? I don't know. I'm not a developer, so I can't say. But I think being an architect, even though you don't like the technical part, but I think in some way you still need to know and understand some of it, because you have to coordinate. You have to coordinate sort of the work. So, I mean, yes, you can just do the design and somebody else takes over, but then where's the fun in that? In regards to fees in anticipation, I probably should put the chat on the share screen. So if people watching this not live, they can see what we're actually responding to. Because we're not doing a good job of reading it. Okay. In regards to fees, in anticipation of a formal proposal with cost, what would you expect your fee to be for a certain project? Example, not least, what is included in your basic services and what services would incur additional fees? If the scope of the project changes later in the project, will there be additional fees? If yes, how will these fees be justified? Wow, this is a very, very long question.
But I think we can answer in a very simple way.
Just some.
Kumar, do you want to answer that?
I mean, you guys can answer.
Okay, in regards to fee, I think we have mentioned that before. We are all bound by Architects Act. So it all goes back to the Act. So you have to, I think all of the answers that of the questions that you ask, the answers are all in Architects Scale of Minimum Fee Rules 2010. So yes, I'm not sure, do you guys have study this in uni? But don't worry, you will encounter this
when you do your part 3.
Yes, when your part 3 exam. So you'll be very familiar with that.
Yep. Cool. Sylvester, are you gonna take the last question?
Yeah. You mean that?
So no, that's the last question.
Oh, that's the last question.
That's over.
Answer the last
All right.
question.
Yeah, we'll be ending it shortly because we're running out of time already.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Tze Hui has to go home as well. CMC all you.
Almost 10 now.
Okay. Thank you everyone for all the questions, and thank you David and Zoe for the very interesting talk. So before we go, can you guys open your webcam? Because we're gonna take a screenshot, so we'll have a reference for the future. Yeah. You guys just open the webcam. Yep. Very beautiful faces.
Wow, there's a lot of pages. Wow, we're so familiar. We're so popular.
Yeah.
Is this just one page or just another?
I think there's multiple pages.
Yeah. So we'll be taking screenshots now. So just stay still. Okay, smile.
Can we move now?
Yeah. Okay. We're done with it. Okay. Thank you again, guys, for coming to this online lecture. So if do keep in touch with us with our next one in our Masa's Facebook and Instagram. Until then, thank you again for your time. Thank you both of you, architect, and thank you again for coming. Yeah.
Thank you so
We'll see you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
So do we hang up now or?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
we just like hi.
Yeah. Okay. Bye bye.
All right. See you guys. How to turn off?